I am so dadgum excited because I saw something from one of my favorite video game directors from one of my favorite franchises, Ken Levine, director and developer of BioShock. Yes, even BioShock Infinite still holds up. It's not the best game out of the three, but it's still a great game. That's just like it's like grandma's chocolate chip cookies to me.
Whoa!
So Ken Levine comes back, and there was an interview probably about a month ago. I thought about doing a video on it, but I was trying to get a guest, someone who was more, I guess, knows more behind the scenes of video game production. I wasn't able to secure that guest, so I didn't want to like bloviate and talk out of my ass. So I ended up not doing it. But Ken Levine has come back in a recent interview, and we're going to talk about what he thinks is wrong with AAA games moving forward into the future. So he's saying that games getting bigger has led to creative stagnation. You stop taking risks and people just tune it out. I cannot agree 100% more what he means by getting bigger. I think I already know. I have read the article, so I do already know. But it's probably the exact same thing that you're thinking too. And at some point, people just tune it out. So, in his opinion, Ken Levine, that guy, I haven't seen very much that I dislike from him. I could say that right there. I am willing to be proven wrong, but I have loved the BioShock games. They were an inspiration to me in a very early stage in my life where I was really getting into adult video gaming. But his says that the video games studios continued, especially with making their works bigger and bigger, has resulted in an industry wide dearth of creativity because expansive budgets have led to the prioritization of trend chasing over innovation. I think he's right about pretty much everything he just said right there. I mean, this is not a quote. We will get into the quotes, but just as an encompassed thought, he is exactly correct about that because they keep spending more and more money trying to make things more expansive, trying to basically include everyone and follow trends. However, because of the length of time that it takes to develop and market video games before they're actually on the market, and a lot of the time they're not even finished whenever they hit the market, trends change. And that's something that needs to be addressed. Now, Levine, in the decade since directing Bioshock's Infinite's Burial at Sea DLC, which I haven't have played, has focused his creative attentions on developing his upcoming sci-fi first-person shooter, Judas. And I will play the trailer for this. I don't know exactly when I'm going to drop it throughout this video, but I will play it for you and hope we don't get struck. So that's where he's been working, offering his perspective on the challenges facing AAA game development while giving a rare interview to gamesindustry.biz, James Batchelor. And this was at the end of last year. So this might be the interview that I was talking about that I never made a video on, but at least it's succinct now. So Batchelor goes on to ask what restrictions or challenges do the time pressures of development put on storytelling and advancing how stories are told in games. And Ken Levine obviously responds with something that a consummate professional would say. Well, the graphical capacity has gone up. Everything's getting bigger, bigger, bigger. You have to do more. You don't have to keep up with graphics as long as the gameplay is good, as long as the story is good. But this is what he's going to go on to say that the AAA gaming industry has forgotten. They've forgotten that Super Meat Boy, one of the biggest games of all time, was a freaking indie game. I think it was created by only two people. And that was like absolutely gigantic. So it's all about the gameplay. Yes, graphics help, but that's not what AAA games are looking for. So just creating a door now versus creating a door 10 years ago takes a lot more time because you have the normal maps of traders and higher polygons and physics and all this other stuff to contend with. Everything's more expensive, especially in the AAA space, because they're the ones that have the deep pocketbooks in order to spend it on distribution and production. And when you're spending all this money, naturally, you have people concerned about the commercial viability of it. Of course, because if you're going to spend that much money, you need return on your investment. That's just business 101, which I agree with. But I think what he's going to go into, but the problem with AAA is if you don't innovate, especially in games, you start losing people because they've seen it all before. They just get relegated to Souls-like game. Oh, yeah, you're just ripping off Souls. Oh, yeah, this just reminds me of this. Oh, this just reminds me of that. What's interesting about it? What have you innovated? You haven't done anything. You're just copying a trend that was successful because it did innovate things. Dark Souls innovated a type of gameplay. BioShock innovated the storytelling arc of a first-person shooter. There's no getting around that. And he says, so we have potentially an over-reliance in some cases on franchises. Yes, and the franchises go to die because they're not being innovated. They're also not being helmed by people who are true fans. They're not fans of the games. They're not fans of the lore. They're not fans of the stories or storytelling. What they're fans of is those dollar signs that they hope that they see in the future, but they're not getting it. It wasn't easy for him to step away from BioShock, one of his little pet babies. I never thought I'd have an established franchise. I tried a bunch of times, made a couple of games that didn't have a sequel, but certainly never had a successful franchise before BioShock. And those games, you could pick them up today. They still hold up. The Jack Ryan thing, not Jack Ryan, but the Andrew Ryan twist towards the end of the first one, oh my gosh, that was absolutely mind-blowing. The first time I played it, and it's still awesome to this day because that's that people used to put way more effort into storytelling in games. Now, when he has been picked up by Take-Two, he said that he actually applauds them because Take-Two has had success, and he's grateful to everyone who's done well, like the Rockstar guys, that bring in a lot of revenue, who allow this kind of experimentation. Because I wouldn't say they're too big to fail, but they have their tentpole franchises already in dirt. Well, we'll see how GTA 6 comes out. But anyway, to not go off topic too much, ideally, you want to be putting bets on people taking risks in any sort of endeavor. Yes, you want to be the changer of the game. You want to be the changer of the culture. You want to become the next trend, not ride those coattails. That should be the goal of any creator, of any artist, of any inventor, of anything. You also want to have people not taking as much risk. You need to sort of diversify. And I think what he means by that is that you don't need to have, like, your tent poles can be there. Your tentpole games, your tentpole franchises, of course, they're going to be the backbone. But you should go out and try to find maybe a new franchise. Create your own franchise. But the thing is, with the trends that are going on, not only in Hollywood, but we've seen it in video games too, because that's the next target of Hollywood and has been for a couple years now, is that they're trying to suffocate anything that has free speech, free thought, and free motivation in order to create. That's what they've been trying to do for a long time. Don't ask me why, but that's just, I mean, that's just the brass tacks of it. And AAA has become very difficult to take a risk, and mostly because it's so expensive. So I'm incredibly fortunate to have the faith from the company to take a risk, to spend the time I need to make Judas successful. Maybe this is a time that I'll drop in the trailer so we can watch it right here. But I will not give you my thoughts on it because I'm doing this in post.
Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. Say hi back.
Of course they know.
What if I told you that every word you say is being recorded? Every thought you've ever had? Your love. Your fear. Your hate. We're just planted in your brain like weeds in a garden. What would you do to free yourself? We both know the answer to that question. Nothing. You are the frog in a pot, boiling so slowly. You don't even know what's happening. But I'm here to set you free, whether you like it or not.
Now, drawing his thoughts on the topic to a close, he has said it's hard to do new things because if you take the risks, you're going to fall flat. Well, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I think he knows this. This is exactly why he's opining on it in the first place. And the more expensive it gets, the trickier it gets. But he starts to bring up extremely good points. And as Nerd Slap in the video that we did together, one thing he said was like, bring up examples. If you're going to opine over something, if you're going to ask questions, you need to bring up examples so that people can relate to what you're asking. He says, look at the MCU. You stop taking risk and people just tune it out. Well, they also just like started completely screwing up all the stories, the comic books. They started race swapping characters. They started it became what they thought was a financial behemoth, however you want that to be pronounced. You know what I mean? It started to become a financial Galactus, and so they stopped giving a crap about the stories and the characters that they were portraying, and they still don't care. They're not even getting it to this day. So let them fail. Fuck them. Get out. Nothing is blessed by God to be successful. You got to give some people something that excites them, and that gets more difficult every year. But you know what? That's the job. Yes. And then we go into a couple of just more instances like Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, lost the company over 200 million. I guarantee it was more than that. Dragon Age the Veilguard, of which I am the most pissed off about as far as video games go, probably in my entire life. And it's damage control review marketing strategy. It wasn't damage control. The whole marketing was calling out the consumers and the customer base, the diehard fans, and being like, nope, we're shoving this in there. Oh, by the way, you know how Dragon Age and most BioWare RPGs, action RPGs like that, they rely on your choices. Like you get to make choices. Oh, you can't be mean. You can't go the renegade option like you could in Mass Effect. You can't be evil and like piss off the mages or the Kunari or anything like that like you could in earlier iterations of Dragon Age. You took all the choice out of it. Then why is it a freaking action RPG? Why is it a fantasy RPG anymore? And then they just threw all their political bullcrap on there. I know I'm going on a tirade, so I'm going to wrap this up. Star Wars Outlaws. And then, of course, the best one of all time, Concord. Point and laugh. Oh, fuck off. Now I know that I'm going a little bit longer than I usually do, but I was actually really excited to report on this now that I have a little bit more context and my mind has grasped it a little bit deeper, a little bit further. I have a question to posit to you, the audience. What exactly are you looking for in new games? I think that numbers basically tell what people want. They want something, they want escapism. Obviously, we all want escapism. That's why we're playing video games outside of our normal jobs, because most gamers have normal jobs. Or gaming is their job, so they need to be interested in what they're doing because that's what pays the bills. Otherwise, they end up quitting very soon. I want good stories. I want good mechanics. I want good gameplay. The visuals don't bother me that much. I don't think Dragon Age was ever really cutting edge as far as their visuals go, but the story was so enveloping and encompassing. That's what drew me into it. Also, I love like that medieval fantasy setting. That's just something I'm into. I like those kind of games. Dragon's Dogma was really good. But what are you into? What do you think AAA games need to be focusing on developing right now? Because you're not going to see it for like another 2 or 3 years. What do they need to be doing right now? I think Ken Levine has his finger on the pulse of gaming. He actually cares, and I stand behind him. So we'll see what happens whenever Judas releases. Until next time, this is Malty from the GCA, and y'all leave all those likes and subscribes down there. I mean, you only get one of each, but leave them down there. Appreciate you. Bye.